Hello, everyone. Mad Caps, and welcome back to the Dynasty Wonderland podcast with, of course, me, the Mad Chatter, Ryan MK. But, yes, it's true. It's damn true, as the one Kurt Angle would say. He has returned. He's back from the IR, the one and only, my good friend, the March Heron, the salary captain himself, Aaron Stewart, has returned to the Wonderland. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, I feel like it's more like I'm the Undertaker. I'm back from the dead. It's
There you go.
been a absolute just brutal 2 weeks. I'm telling you, people, it's a butt kicker. It just takes everything from you, but and also just the fact that I couldn't be in front of the mic, it was just super depressing for a while. But I'm back. Ryan, you're here.
Yes.
We've had such a rough past few weeks. We're talk about it off camera. We're back. We're ready to get back on schedule. Get this train back on the rails. I'm excited, man.
And you said a brutal 2 weeks. I mean, no comparison to probably what you went through, but I'm sure the audience would agree a brutal couple of weeks considering they were stuck with me. And I was, as I mentioned off pod, not getting shows out at the normal clip because of my own goings-ons. And so apologies to the listeners for that. I had all intentions of being phenomenal while Aaron was sidelined, but I was half sidelined myself, you could say. I kept my sanity somehow, and Aaron did as well. We're here, healthy, and we're ready to go. So absolutely. I got to say, man, let's just fucking get into it because I'm ready. I'm happy to have you back. And we got another solid primetime game of football. Let's just run through that real quick, and then we'll get into our observations, off with their heads, that kind of stuff. But I do got to say real quick, I'm kind of impressed with the Colts and how they've been playing recently, man. And Michael Pittman's playing well. Jonathan Taylor continues to be awesome. Now, it'd be great. I mean, if you could just imagine if they didn't fuck around with Naheem Hines so much, and if they go ahead and trade Marlon Mack, he could be even better. But damn, JT's balling, and just I like what the Colts are doing. And as much as, we kind of don't care as far as who might win this division between the Colts and the Titans, it is becoming kind of an intriguing race to me.
Yeah.
Because the Titans are playing well also, as I'm sure we'll get into. But yes, I'm really impressed with the Colts. I like what they're doing. And on the 49ers side, I just got to they got to put Trey Lance in there. They got to just, I think they need to say, because, I just don't know what else to say. The 49ers are they're kind of rough right now. Deebo Samuel continues to do his thing, so you can continue to rely on him. And, my boy that I talked about way back from the preseason, Mr. Elijah Mitchell, continues to wreck it a little bit. So I like what's going on there as far as those two players. But other than that, it's not been spectacular for the 49ers. So what did you think about the overall game, the two teams, and what you can pull out of them fantasy-wise? Because at least for the Colts, there was something with little concern at the beginning of the season, and we're certainly finding fantasy production from them now.
Yeah, and number one thing with the Colts is you go way back to the preseason. Of course, they were already dealing with all the injuries, especially Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson. And it was a brutal schedule to start the season. And people were saying, hey, don't be surprised if they start off slow. So now to kind of see them get some momentum a little bit, to now be 3-4 and not out of it. They're not. They're just a couple of games behind the Titans. They could still salvage the season here. And they do have the nice pieces that you talked about. Jonathan Taylor did seem that they're finally starting to utilize him more. They like to see even more of the carries. I'm with you. Let's get Marlon Mack out of there. There's a lot of interest around the league in him.
Correct. Yeah.
Trade him somewhere else, because if he's back, hey, Philadelphia suddenly becomes interesting. We'll talk more about Miles Sanders, but there is a Colts connection there in Philadelphia. And the other young star player, Michael Pittman, that the only concerning thing is, like, he was phenomenal. 4 catches, 105 yards, scored a touchdown. But the problem is he only had 4 targets.
Right.
There was Zach Pascal that had 6 targets. Ashton Doolin had 4 targets too. It's like, you look at this receiving corps. They've lost. Is Paris Campbell out for the season? I believe it. I don't know if they like confirmed that yet. You're our infirmary guy. Is Pat or Campbell? Is he out for the season?
Not as far as I've heard. Not as far as this more. Yeah, no, because it would have been later.
Gotcha. There was some, I guess, fear that he's possibly done for the season again. So it's like no Campbell. Of course, Hilton missed this game, and Hilton, just the injuries have been just catching up to him the last few seasons. It's like Hilton's
right, because he had a nice return last week.
Yeah, because it was Houston, of course.
Right.
He always goes off on Houston.
That's true.
But like with Michael Pittman, you sit there and you look at this guy that's 6'4", 225 pounds. He kind of looks like Mike Evans a little bit. And it's like, how is he not more involved? There isn't a threat at tight end. They don't really utilize the running backs a whole lot. Jonathan Taylor can catch passes as well as Nyheim Hines, but those 2 guys, they combined for 6 targets. It's maddening that Pittman is just clearly the best receiver on this team, and yet the target share just does not reflect that. Fortunately, he had the 105 yards, the touchdown. He had over 2/3 of the receiving yards. That's the crazy thing. And the 49ers, my main takeaway on this, I guess there's 2. One with Elijah Mitchell, like clearly like the guy, to the people that drafted Trey Sermon in their rookie drafts, just sorry, Elijah Mitchell's just the better guy. And then it just makes me sad looking at this. Brandon Ayuk, 1 target.
Ayuk kills me. Ayuk kills me. I traded for him in the offseason. Yeah. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought Ayuk up.
Yeah, he makes me sad because I was super high on him, but and I've been concerned, but I keep going. It's Ayuk, like he can come back, and like Debo's not going to catch everything. I'm looking at the box score. He's going to catch everything.
Right.
So just really shocking. Not so much that like Debo better than Ayuk, but just how big of a gap it is. Because at the very least, you would think, okay, Debo could be the alpha, but Ayuk is still going to be heavily involved. There's no Kittle. You would think that it would be kind of like a Julio Jones, Roddy White, a little throwback there. From what Kyle Shanahan was used to back in the day with the Atlanta Falcons, where it's like, yes, Julio's the guy, but Roddy White's still extremely productive. Just hasn't been the case. Maybe Ayuk's just not that good. Oh, man, I can't believe it. That's on air. Me saying, maybe Ayuk's just not that good. Yeah. And I don't want to believe that, but you look at the box score, you watch the games, hard to argue.
Yep, I agree. One more thing on Michael Pittman, because you were talking about his targets, and it is interesting. Going back to week 1, he had 4 targets, 12 targets, 8, 7, and then the past 2 weeks, 3, and then 4. Like, what is going on? And so that is weird, because if you're throwing him the ball, he's, for the most part, producing with it. So that's a strange one.
Super strange.
But the offense overall is looking better, and it seems like Carson Wentz is kind of finding his stride. And Wentz, never someone I've been big on, but I felt like if he was gonna kind of rejuvenate his career at all, this was a good place, a good spot to do it. And with the injuries and all of that in the beginning of the season, you just wondered if it would ever happen. And it does seem like he's getting comfortable and confident. So this is a very interesting offense. And I think it definitely makes, with the way the Titans are playing, it makes that AFC South race a little bit more intriguing.
Right. Absolutely. So good win by the Colts too, because
yes.
each of these losses just really, anytime this team loses, it's going to become how long until they decide to pull the plug on Carson Wentz just because of the trade where they could potentially lose first round picks. So it's nice to see them playing well.
Right.
Yeah, they're 3-4. And
because they've lost a couple they could have had. Had. And so
Right. So this team's still in the hunt. Still too early. I mean, 7 games and we've got 17. So we're not even halfway there. There's still a couple of games out. And it'll be interesting when the Colts and Titans play next.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, buddy. Where do you want to go first? Or next, I should say. Off with their heads. Mad observations. Where are we headed?
Let's go with off with their heads. I think you and I always go, let's get the negative out of the way.
That's a good point.
And I have one that goes straight with a 49ers player that I was
already
talking about. But Brandon Ayuk, this is me officially saying off with his head because I've been conservative. I've been going, it's okay. I'll turn it around. But this game right here, 1 target, 1 catch, 6 yards. I want to say I actually did drop him in some leagues where it's week 7. It was the bipocalypse. And you just go, I need production. So off with his head, Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree, man. It's hard to disagree. I'm going to go with my first off with their heads, the Chiefs offense. And I'm not trying to do anything funny with it because it's a shame with the, like I had a hard time watching that Patrick Mahomes hit because he gets bent in a wrong way. I don't like that shit. Like that's it. I don't like the bending of your body when it's not supposed to. No. And so apparently he's fine. Apparently he's okay. And Andy Reid said pass the concussion protocol. But it was his decision to keep him out. But man, if you saw him walking around after that, like he looked fucking out of it. So that's some scary shit to see. But that aside, what the hell is going on with this offense? I mean, it does seem like I think I heard about this on one of my podcasts where it's like some of the more riskier plays are just not going their way this year. And because he's already got too many interceptions. And today he had 1, he had it on a couple of lost fumbles Mahomes did. And then they've got no running game. I mean, it feels like it's like Kelsey and Tyreek and like, it just feels like you can make it so easy to kind of defend this team. And you got to wonder where's some innovation. Like, here's one idea: trade for Marlon Mack. That may help a little bit. But other than that, they've got to change something, do something. I feel like, and I don't know because they've got this shit defense. I've been talking about this on other pods there, where we got this. We like during the offseason, it was like Tennessee's defense is going to be terrible. And they've actually played okay recently. Like it's the Chiefs and then the Seahawks who, at least as of like a week or two ago, they were on pace for like historically bad defenses. And I'm pretty sure at least the Chiefs still are. So like it's maybe it's partly the offense trying to do too much when they're trying to, I don't know. But right now you got to just say off with their head. I mean, it's kind of messy. I mean, sure. Like today, Travis Kelce, he got you 13.5 points in PPR. But like they don't look right to me. And so that makes it kind of scary for fantasy. And you know, I personally have kept saying, well, it's the Chiefs. They'll be fine. But at what point do we go, I don't know if this is fine. Like, you know what I mean?
Right, because that defense is a massive problem, and I know it's defense and it's offense, right? Like they don't really directly affect each other, but maybe they do. Like it's, because the offense has to go, we have to be so perfect. We have to execute because our defense can't do anything at all. So like the pressure of getting the third down conversions and trying to force stuff that maybe they just in years past they haven't needed to, because and you talk about Patrick Mahomes too, the scary concussion, and it's like if he has to miss, and it's what Chad Henne would come in, like Chad Henne was able to kind of keep the team afloat when he filled in for Patrick Mahomes last year, but it's because they could actually rely a little bit on their defense to get some stops. That won't happen this time around. Like there is so much pressure on this team, and this is a team that if I want to say they're 3-4 now too. It's been extremely disappointing, and if they want to salvage this season, make the playoffs, and they are still the Chiefs, it's still Patrick Mahomes and this great offense. They've got to make some changes. They have got to be active at the trade deadline, and not just maybe getting a more Mac, but also going, okay, what do we need to get on defense to turn things around? Because what they're putting out there this entire season, just it's unsatisfactory.
Yeah, because I think they could also use another offensive weapon. Like they have Kelsey and Hill, but it doesn't seem like anybody else. It seems like doesn't seem like there's anybody else really stepping up. Pringle had 5 for 73 today, but it's just kind of I mean, if they had endless salary cap, I'd say, hey, get real busy, because maybe Cleveland's willing to part with OBJ, but like you said, they need defense. It just feels like this team's in trouble. That's what it feels like. And again, that makes shit scary for fantasy when you have some of these guys. And so we'll have to see what happens. Apparently Patrick Mahomes is fine, but I will keep tabs on him the rest of the week, obviously. And Daryl Williams wasn't terrible. 5 for 20. I mean, 4 yards a clip. He just, they didn't run the ball. They had Patrick Mahomes had 6 attempts. Other than that, it was 7 other attempts. Yeah. I mean, they pretty much had to go throwing the ball, but it's just, yeah. I don't know. Man. This is not the Chiefs we're used to.
Chiefs we're used to at all.
Spent way too much time in that. I'm sorry. I'm just so happy to have someone to talk to. This is insane. All right. Hit me up with your next one, bro.
Oh, this one is painful. It's Allen Robinson. This, and I will talk more about the Bears a little later, so I won't go into deep detail, but still just at what point, I mean, it's kind of like Brandon Ayuk, where you just go, hey, you take today's game, 2 catches, 16 yards, 4 targets. And this isn't just, a bad Allen Robinson game. It's been a bad Allen Robinson season. And it may not be entirely his fault, but still, like he ain't helping you. I mean, that's less than 4 fantasy points in PPR leagues. And, now do you drop him? It's tough. Like it's hard to say, I'll drop Allen Robinson, but you sure as heck aren't going, I've got Allen Robinson, lock him into my starting lineup. Right. And that's the frustrating thing. Like that's where you start getting into trouble with your fantasy teams, where you have these players where you go, I can't cut them, but I can't start them because they're not helping me win.
Yeah. He's kind of hit that territory, and that's unfortunate because he's been so good for fantasy for so long. So that's so long. Yeah. And
in bad situations too. Like this isn't like that's probably been the most shocking thing is we go, usually for players to go, it's a bad situation, like that stinks. But that's been Allen Robinson's like whole career, even going back to college football. I know it's this narrative has been beaten, but Christian Hackenberg at Penn State throwing him the football. It's just Robinson is the reason he's so dang good is because he's seemingly been just quarterback proof. But I don't know, just ain't working this year.
Are you worried about Justin Fields at all? I know it was Tampa Bay Bucks today, but I mean,
Well, this is a game that he should have been able to do something because
I thought
the
so.
secondary is bad. But like I'll
Threw
also
three
go,
picks.
yeah, and then 2 fumbles as well, like
Right.
5 turnovers. Like I there's a league that I was playing still and I started Justin Fields, and our scoring is similar to Scott Fishbowl, and I'm pretty certain that you and I scored more fantasy points than Justin Fields today. The turnovers, the low yardage, the
Right.
incomplete passes, it adds up. And to answer your question, like in the long haul, no. But in the short haul, I this was one of the things I was concerned with Justin Fields. I wasn't super high on Justin Fields compared to most people
Mhm.
because most people went, "Oh, he's a dual threat quarterback and everything." But like you do start to kind of look at the numbers, you look at the analytics a little bit, and you start going, "Okay, he slipped in the NFL draft too." Yes, that may be teams just being really stupid. I mean, Carolina
Right.
Panthers could, maybe have drafted a quarterback like Justin Fields. But, you do start to go, all the things kind of point to maybe collectively as a whole, we were way too high on Justin Fields compared
Yeah.
to what he actually is. I mean, it is a possibility there. And that was one of my concerns. So when I see this, I go, oh no, this is worst case scenario. But these are rookie quarterbacks. They can get better. And I think that will happen with Justin Fields. But there's got to be some changes in Chicago. Like
I think a
that's
coaching
just a
change
bad
would help,
situation.
to be honest, because
Right.
it doesn't feel like Nagy's putting him in the best situations to win, to play his
Oh, I'll
best.
be talking about Matt Nagy. I got some nagging about Nagy
There
to
you
do.
go. So yeah, I was just curious. I had to bring Justin Fields up because I'm not necessarily worried about him either, but this is concerning. I expected to just see a little bit more out of him thus far, but I'm also holding on to my reservations for now, or however the hell that saying goes. I might have fucked it all up, but anyway, we move on. So my next off with their heads, and I did come up with a potential third if we get there, but I've got the Panthers, and I bring them up in football for terms for the general sense of fucking hey, the Panthers. Whew. But pertaining to fantasy, man, this makes me worried about DJ Moore, who had such a nice start to the season. But I gotta say, man, today was ugly, ugly. They got smoked by the Giants. By the Giants, Sam Darnold barely over 100. PJ Walker took his spot. And again, DJ Moore, 6 for 73. So, okay, whatever. But it concerns me. And, this was supposed to be a really good defense. But the Giants smoked them 25 to, and I can't say smoked them because it's not like the Giants looked like super fucking impressive or anything. But you know what I mean? Like, 25 to 3. That, like, what the hell, Panthers? Are you just that bad? Like, do you just implode when Christian McCaffrey's out? Is that what's going on? Because that's what it feels like. This is just it's ugly, man, and it's got to be, yeah. It's another, yeah. You look at Justin Fields, and maybe he didn't play well today, but holy shit, this team has just kind of went off a cliff.
So bad. And, it was the difficult thing. Like everyone, we were excited when the Panthers were 3-0 and they were playing great. The defense was getting at opposing quarterbacks, but, it was them, the Broncos. Broncos, same exact spot where they start off 3-0, haven't won a game since. And that's why, like, when you're doing power rankings, it's so easy to get excited about these teams that start off fast, 2-0, 3-0. But you start going, you know what? I need to see more. That's how I think both you and I were with Sam Darnold, because everyone was all over Sam Darnold. Oh, he got away from Adam Gase. Oh, things are going to be great. this is our example right here of like, look, sometimes bad coaching can affect players. Like, yes, we did see Ryan Tannehill turn things around, but Tannehill at least flashed a little bit in Miami. Like Sam
Right.
Darnold showed like next to nothing in what 3 seasons with the Jets. And I was like, oh, he had a few good games. I would hope so. He is a professional quarterback in the NFL. Like if you are a professional football player, you can have good games. You are a pro, but doesn't mean that you're going to be a good pro, because what have we seen from Sam Darnold since? Like ever since the Cowboys wrecked him, like Sam Darnold hasn't looked good. DJ Moore's been the only thing that's been able to look semi-decent. Because this is my favorite fun stat with the Panthers is that was it the past 2 weeks, Robbie Anderson has been targeted 20 times, and he has 25 total receiving yards these past 2 weeks. 20 targets,
That's insane.
25 yards. And this was the guy they just gave, what was it? It was a good extension. Like it was
Right.
$13, $14 million a year. And you just go, this is the guy. Like that's an extension. The extension hasn't even kicked in yet. And there has to be buyers for Morse already before the extension has even kicked in. Oh, is horrible. Sorry, that's my rant on the Panthers. You're right. Like just done with the Panthers. DJ Moore is about the only thing that's like semi-safe. But like, how good can a receiver be? We kind of talked about it with Allen Robinson. If the quarterback play is trash.
Yeah, man. And I think I was on the train that Darnold would be better without Gase. But I also, when they're 3-0, am like, I don't trust him yet. Not at all. Them or the Broncos, because they hadn't played anybody. Now, so I was completely with you there, and we discussed that aplenty. But I can't speak for you, but I know I didn't expect, like, at least the Broncos have been somewhat competitive. Like, the Panthers are getting smashed. Like, and so I don't think with the Panthers, I didn't expect such a drop off, I guess. I expected them, like you did, to not be what they appeared to be the first few weeks, but I didn't expect this because it's not good. No bueno,
Not
my
good
friend.
at all.
Okay.
It's horrible.
Do you have another one?
Yeah, but also we could skip it too if we want to go straight into the Mad 5 takeaways. I know it's been a good while.
I had one more that I was going to bring, a quick one to bring up. So if you want to go with your third one, go ahead, my friend.
I'm just going to make it really quick too. This is a player that's received plenty of opportunity and never seems to do anything with it. And that's Evan Ingram. Like it's always, especially the last few weeks for the Giants, it's been, oh, Galladay's out, Sterling Shepard's out. They're literally starting Dante Pettis, and it's like, oh, but Evan Ingram is there, and this is the perfect time for a player like him to be productive. He's going to get opportunity, and like what today's stat line is, I actually have the Giants pulled up here. Targeted 8 times, good. 6 catches, awesome. 44 yards, really? Like for what's supposed to be one of the most athletic tight ends, those injuries have clearly just piled up. He never seems to really do anything with it. And at the end of the day, you go, cool, 10 fantasy points on 8 targets. You know, you just feel like you deserve more from Ingram, who I don't think has scored a touchdown this season still. He is the Jacoby Myers of tight ends. Just all these targets and nothing, and it just doesn't do it. I mean, I guess like you could start him. You started him today, and you got just enough points to fill in for a tight end like Darren Waller, and you go, okay, like it wasn't a complete dud, but yeah, it just disappointment. I'm just done with Evan Ingram.
Right. Yeah, I kind of been done with them. And it was National Tight End Day, and tight ends were catching touchdowns all over the place. Double E couldn't get one. Just couldn't get one. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Oh
Super
man.
annoying. It is like, because in your mind you go, this is a perfect tight end streamer because just you don't have to be talented at tight end. You don't. You just need opportunity. And it gets the opportunity, and it's a guy that's had talent. Just oh,
Yeah.
I've just done just years of this, and it's like, okay, just you get to a point now where you just go, I can't do it, can't torture myself to do this. Like, I'd rather take a shot on, I don't know, CJ Uzma at this point, who did have a big game, but
Yeah,
would
I
rather take a
needed
shot on a guy like that.
in my oldest dynasty league, my IDP league, I actually have a few stud tight ends. Everybody's hurt. I ended up picking Uzumwa up a couple of weeks ago. Had to plug him up, plug him in the lineup. Okay, thanks, CJ. Thanks for a good day. I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. But okay, my final one, real quick, is Double T Tua Tagovailoa, because I really wanted him, man, to just play awesome and shut everybody up, because this whole, I'm tired of talking about or hearing about Deshaun Watson, and just like,
it never goes away.
Yeah, and it's just like, we're talking, it's going on in this football stuff, and it's like, hey, this dude seems kind of like a scumbag. Like, we should probably not be like, it just, I don't know, that there's just so much to it that I'm just like, I don't know why we're spending so much fucking time on it. But then here I am sitting doing it. Fucking hypocrite chatter, Jesus. But my point is I really just wanted Tua to shut everybody up. And we know Watson's probably going to get dealt, and he'll go through whatever. And at some point, maybe, most likely, he'll be playing. But I really wanted to see Tua do it. It doesn't surprise me that Justin Herbert has turned out to be better. Joe Burrow's playing great. So, not every one of them is going to hit. Okay, so Tua wasn't going to hit. Is he going to be at least salvageable, startable? I mean, that's really in question right now. The past couple of weeks, he's thrown some absolutely fucking awful interceptions. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just, you'll see flashes, but then it just bad. So I don't know. It just seems like one of those guys, man. It just not going to be able to put it together consistently. But I don't know. It's barely really between his injuries and all that, because that's another thing, the injuries. But because of that, he's barely over a season into his actual NFL career, total game wise. So I don't know. I just I kind of feel for him. I was rooting for him. And I really wanted him to shut people up in Miami over all this Deshaun Watson bullshit. And that didn't, that's not going to go away now either. So, yeah, because I think a lot of people expected something from the Dolphins this year. And they is not good, my friend.
Yeah. And that's been the most annoying aspect about all this, is that you also have to think that maybe with Tua, it's like, are some of the bad interceptions just coming from the fact that there's always Deshaun Watson trade rumors, and his team never takes a stand and go, Tua's our guy, like to shut it down. There's just nothing. Like, it's super disappointing on a coaching staff, because there's been flashes, and you take like today's game where he threw 4 touchdowns. Yes, right. Like 2 interceptions. It's like that puts a damper on it. But you do go, this is a second-year quarterback, as you mentioned, who is only played like 16 games. He really hasn't played much in his NFL career, and is able to have a 4-touchdown game. And it's normally you would be excited about that for your young second year, what's supposed to be a franchise quarterback. But the fact that the team just never seemed to have Tua's back, it's like that's got to play a part in some of this, where you go, like, maybe if they ever supported him, it's like you push through some of that. You're gonna make mistakes when you're a young quarterback. You are, but you just feel like Tua is just trying to force so much because there's all these constant rumors. Super disappointing. If he does end up getting traded, I just hope that he goes to a situation that's better, kind of like what Sam Darnold's situation in Carolina was, maybe still is. Like, it seemed to be better than the New York Jets. That's just what I'm hoping for, is eventually, if it is a Deshaun Watson trade, at least get to us somewhere where there's a team that actually believes in the young quarterback. It could just make a big difference.
Well, it sounds like Houston doesn't want him. So if they were talking about it might have to be a third team that comes in that might be interested in Tua. And then, but I also heard or read that was a fake report. So who the hell knows? But
nobody knows.
But yeah, I'm all for giving a guy a new chance in a new area. I think we're getting to a point where if he is doing these certain things because mentally he's like, I just expect, like, if you're one of those guys, you come out with all this shit going on and shut everybody up. And I understand. That's one of my defenses of Tua. Like, he hasn't played in that many games, it's his second season, but like total game wise, he's beginning his second season. So it is kind of tough. And the environment. Yeah.
Get him with Sean Payton.
Yeah. That would be interesting. That would be interesting for sure. All right, so we got off with our heads out the way. Let's get into mad observations. My friend Aaron, go with yours first. It was a weird slate. Didn't have a lot of big games on there. Some games turned out being kind of fun, others surprising. And so it turned out to be an okay day after all. And what did you end up with as your first observation of this week 7?
We're going to nag about Matt Nagy. Like, just... The problem is people will go, cool, your quarterback, Justin Fields, had 5 turnovers. Yes, that is horrible. That's on the quarterback. But also the fact is Matt Nagy came for Chicago as an offensive coach. And we have seen some of the worst NFL historic performances on offense with this Bears team this season. And it's just like, at what point do you start going, maybe it's the head coach who's supposed to specialize in offense, but can't seem to do anything. It's not that this Bears team is devoid of talent at all. Like, Justin Fields is supposed to be a special quarterback, and I still believe that he can be. It's just we are starting to enter that territory of, like, a year from now, do we start having the same conversation with Justin Fields that we're having with Tua Tagovailoa?
Right.
And the talent there too. Like, they found a gem at running back, Khalil Herbert. Like, he actually had a good game. Despite, like, he had the weirdest game. Like, how in the world does he get over 100 yards rushing when his team scores 3 points?
The single positive of the game for the Bears.
And it's like, you've got some second-year players, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, that are capable of making plays. Allen Robinson is a proven alpha in this league. It's you have all of these offensive weapons. Like, dare I say, like, when you look at the Chiefs that have Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, and then you talked about a whole bunch of nothing after them, it's like you look at the Bears' weapons, and it's like that maybe it's not quite the Chiefs level, but they have a little bit more depth. And it's like this is what 3 points in this game. When was it they had that really just pitiful performance? That was pretty recent. Right? That was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where, like, that was an NFL like history thing. And you look at the box score in this game, 3rd downs, convert 2 of 11. There was the shocking thing was it was 38-3, and it just felt like such a lopsided game. But really, when you look at the team stats of the box score, there's less than 100 yards difference of offense between the Bears and the Buccaneers. The time of possession, there was a 2-minute difference between the Buccaneers and the Bears. And you just go, how do you do so little? Like, there was, I think the Buccaneers had about 5 more offensive plays than the Bears, and just go, this is all you can do. Like, this is, if you're ownership, you just have to go, this isn't working. And where are they going? They're 3 games behind the Packers for their division title. It's, you're not a playoff team. Like, most people go, we don't want to fire a coach in the middle of the season. Why not? You need a wake up call. Like, this Bears offense is pitiful. Matt Nagy has to be held responsible for it. Sorry, this is why we call it. This is why I'm calling this nagging about Nagy here. Just go ahead. Like, he's gonna get fired in the offseason. Just go ahead and rip off that Band-Aid right now. Let's get rid of him. Let's see if your team can do something, anything this season. Like, that may be what you need. Look, the Raiders, a little special situation there, but they moved on from their head coach. They go 2-0, and they show that they can take that wake up call from a coaching change. Let's get Matt Nagy out of here. It's just ruining everything. Ugh.
Right. Okay. So, all I'm going to say to that is, because I agree, let's get rid of Nagy. But the Bears did have a few turnovers, and some of those set up the Bucs in pretty good territory. So I think that's why it doesn't look like, Brady has 4 touchdown passes, but he's only got slightly over 200 yards. Field position, I think, played a big hand in that. But I got to mention, I pushed big on O.J. Howard this week in the infirmary, and he had 1 catch for 9 yards. And I think that's because Mike Evans had 6 for 76 and 3 touchdowns. That was a large part of it. But I figured no Antonio Brown, no Gronk. O.J. Howard made some noise last week. I know Arians was talking about him in the offseason, so I'm like, let's go. Second week of it, nope, was not to be, my friend. Was not to be. But Bucs, man, talk about producers of fantasy points. This team has it. Godwin, Evans, thank you very much. Leonard Fournette. I mean, just, yeah. Gotta love the Bucs offense right now. So that's all I wanted to add. But I'll go in with my first one, and that's who they? They are the Bangles, and I love watching this team. And as much as I love rooting for the Ravens, and I love my Lamar Jackson, I'm a big fan, one of my favorite players to watch. But holy shit, I'm enjoying what the Bengals are doing this season. Playing pretty well on defense. Offense, I wanted to see Joe Burrow spread the ball around a little bit more, and he's getting CJ Uzomah involved. I mean, T. Higgins himself did have 15 targets, so he was getting the targets. They were trying to get him involved. He went 7 for 62, but then, I mean, is anybody going to stop these two fuckers, Burrow and Chase? Over 200 yards, 201 to be exact, and a touchdown, just like, holy shit balls. Like, they have quite the connection. I think it's pretty obvious they did a good job drafting Jamar Chase because this is working out beautifully. And so their team is playing damn well right now. You got to enjoy what they're doing. And so they're on top of the AFC North. This is crazy. So I think this is got to be surprised. I think a lot of people would have pegged the Bengals to be better, but man, this is nuts. I don't think anybody would have predicted something like this, or not many. And so you got to love what Joe Burrow's doing. Over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just, I mean, another team that's, gives you fantasy production. I mean, there you go.
That, and also it's like, man, you look back, they had the Green Bay game that if their kicker could have made a kick, they beat Green Bay. They're sitting at 6-1.
Yes,
and it's a nice story because they were slept on. And honestly, you go back and you look at the offseason, they did make additions that made their team better. So it is such a good story. And the one thing I want to add to this is that they have now beaten the Ravens and the Steelers on the road. Like that's huge. They still got to play those teams, of course, one more time each, but
At
they've
home.
already played the road games,
Yeah.
and they're 5-2. They are on top of the AFC North division.
Pretty
Just
crazy.
you know what? Like, well done, Bengals. Where teams like the Panthers and the Broncos have just fallen apart, the Bengals have shown no, they're legit. They're legit. Some credible wins there,
I
and
agree.
you love to see it because that's a team that usually gets bullied in the NFL. Good job, Bengals.
Hell yeah! All right, go ahead with your next one, my friend.
All right, my next one. Let's go with we kind of crapped on the Chiefs here. A little bit of puns here, but AJ Brown, a Chipotle eruption. So finally, we had an AJ Brown type game. 9 targets that was turned into 8 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown. I was kind of shocked. I've been, of course, during my time with COVID, you kind of get out of the loop with like what's going on in the NFL. Like you're not quite paying attention to standings, but I go, holy crap, the Titans are 5-2 now, and it's Henry, of course, has been just doing a phenomenal job. And this game he had a passing touchdown. I had to go back and check that one again to make sure like that I read that right. But
it's pretty crazy.
You have Henry, who has been just destroying teams, like multiple 3-touchdown games.
Yeah.
And now finally adding that layer of like, we hope that this is now AJ Brown, who the slow start, honestly, when you look back and you look at the offseason he had surgery on both of his knees and just dealt with a hamstring, I believe, as well. And so like it definitely took away that layer to the Titans offense. So it's nice to see AJ Brown come back and be like, cool, this is the alpha. Julio Jones dealing with some hamstrings that's kind of limiting his production there, but once he gets healthy as well, it's like this Titans team that is 5-2, and it feels like they have been playing below 500, but I was like, wow, they're 3 games above 500, and they really haven't been playing their best. They, of course, have that loss to the Jets as well, but it's like, wow.
It looks really weird now.
Yeah, and this team, it's like they have survived, and now that's back-to-back weeks where they have beaten the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, which going into the season, those were the 2 favorites for the AFC. So we talked about the Bengals getting some quality wins. Props to the Titans to do that in back-to-back weeks. And now we hope AJ Brown, I'm hoping this eruption here just kind of continues. And it's like, wow, now the Titans actually have a passing offense too.
Yeah, I don't have much to add because I talked about the Chiefs earlier. You talked about the Titans. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to my next one. And that would be the For Real Raiders because, man, they are also 5-2, Mr. Aaron. And, you look in that division, of course, you got the Chargers right there. Broncos have fallen back to earth. The Chiefs, major trouble. And you got the Raiders right there at the top too, man. And Derek Carr is playing good this year, playing well. Josh Jacobs went out. Kenyon Drake actually had a solid game and looked good in his return in his stead. And I had pegged this game as a bit more of a Bryan Edwards game if Darren Waller was to miss. But I did in the infirmary, this is where I'm going to make up for O.J. Howard. I did mention a one Foster Moreau and a bam, 6 for 60 and a touchdown. So it's nice to see because he's a guy in a couple of dynasty leagues that I've had stashed for a while now, just because I just can't let him go because I love his player profile. And I'm just like, I feel like he's going to get there at some point. And he had a solid day today. So that was good to see. Good to see. And I just feel like, they had all the shit going with Gruden and they're still balling. They're still winning games. And it just, there's something about this team where it's like, I've been waiting for them to kind of fall back to earth too. And they continue to play well. So, I'm interested to see where it's going. I do really want to see Brian Edwards get more involved, it'd be really nice. But on the other hand, you look at this, and this is just kind of like I've talked about the Browns, where Baker Mayfield was just like spreading it around. Like nobody was really getting all that many like Njoku had a big game, but there was like, that kind of seems to be almost with this too. Because you look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players targeted in the passing game. All of them but 2, 7 of the 9 have at least 3 targets. So, I mean, that's really spreading the ball around. You know what I mean? So football wise, I'm intrigued by what they're going to do, because I've been waiting them to fall off a cliff themselves, and they have not. But fantasy wise, I think you're just best relying on, whatever healthy running back there is, but mostly Darren Waller when he's healthy. And, again, Carr's playing well, but I think fantasy wise, yeah, it's tough to roll with the pass catcher, just, because you don't know when they could have a game because of the spreading around of the ball. So, we'll see. But that's what I got on the Raiders. I do feel like, man, they're going to be here to stay. They might not make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be a pain in the ass for whoever plays them.
Yeah, and I will say, I always like it when teams prove me wrong, right? Like it's a nice dose of humility for me. I've been very anti-Raiders. I've been, like we talked about, I do tend to be pretty conservative with my takes. Like I wait on the Sam Darnold, wait on the Brandon Ayuk. I'm with you. I waited on the Raiders. But you do just sometimes have to go. They're 5-2. They've had some good wins, and you know what? Like there are teams that disappoint. We've talked a lot about those teams: Chiefs, Broncos, Panthers, etc. That also means there has to be some teams that exceed expectations, and the Raiders have clearly been one of those teams. Good job for them. Like I hope that they continue the success. Would be a nice story about making the playoffs after having to go through the whole John Gruden just BS stuff. So,
I agree.
The words of Al Davis, just win, baby. And that's what the Raiders are doing a great job of this season.
For sure. All right, buddy. Next one.
All righty. There's one particular game, because I was looking at your notes, and then we haven't even talked about either one of these teams. But the Green Bay Washington game, I do have to kind of give some shout out there on a couple of observations. First one is just on the Washington side, Taylor Heineke, 95 rushing yards.
Yeah.
95 rushing yards. Holy moly.
Yeah, that long of 38, I was watching that. He booked it.
I love it. Like Heineke, probably not a long-term starting quarterback, but you know what? Just go out there, make some plays happen. There's usually a lot of bad, but it's as a person that's rooted for Gardner Minshew, and it's not always pretty. I'm like, hey, you know what? Like stranger things have happened. Heineke, take advantage of this. But then the other thing too, like the major thing, because it's been a few weeks, obviously, because I've been way under the weather. I haven't done a wide receiver quarterback matchup article. And, the thing was, I still have my notes. On, like, okay, what are some players to target? And I actually did start this guy in a league that I was super desperate because it's the Bipocalypse. But Alan Lazard, 5 catches on 6 targets for 60 yards and a touchdown. You take a Robert Tonyan, who's basically a wide receiver playing tight end. 4 catches on 5 targets, 63 yards and a touchdown. I mention those guys because Washington's secondary continues to make these guys that are like fringe, super fringe, fantasy relevant players. They make them like very startable options, because when I was dealing with COVID and it was the Saints game, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like Marquez Callaway, and I kick myself because I'm like, I wish I could have been healthy enough to like write this, but that's been my cheat code. Like it's There's
Right.
been just some certain teams there where it's like avoid the Buffalo Bills secondary if the quarterback is just not good, and then on the other side it's like, oh, someone's playing Washington. Yeah, those receivers, especially if like they're under-owned guys, they're perfect guys to write about because they make you look so smart when I'm
Right.
trying to predict top 30 wide receiver performances. And Alan Lazard, he was there right there in my notes where I was like, oh man, that feels disgusting. But that's just how bad Washington's secondary is.
It's funny. I picked him up and played him in the Scott Fish Bowl because I needed help.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, I will say about Heineke, man, in super flex leagues, he's been a boon this year. And so, and you know, we talked about him on the Wonderland pod during the off season. So that was someone because I had, you know, watched him in Minnesota. And so I knew there was a little something to him, but yeah, he's been impressive with the rushing. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm going to go to Kyle fucking Pitts because I love seeing there was some really cool shit he did today. And you know, he had a good game. I think it was last week, but today 7 for I'm going to say 2. I don't know why it says 613. Like he didn't get 613 yards. So I'm not sure what the hell happened there. 163 yards. Yeah, I just jumbled that all up in my brain. 163 became 613. Anyway, so he goes for 163 yards. Dude's balling out. And you see what people were so excited about. And even though I don't, you know, I don't have him rostered anywhere because price way too high. Still, in my opinion, it does appear that he's going to be fun and a very valuable fantasy asset for quite some time to come. Meanwhile, Calvin Ridley, 10 targets, actually led in targets, but only 4 catches for 26 yards. Did get a touchdown, but it's been not quite the year that Calvin Ridley fans had probably been hoping for thus far. But yeah, I just got to mention, loving the Kyle Pitts right now. And yes, I was in the camp of I'm not taking a tight end number 1 all in a rookie draft. I'm not going to I don't view him that highly. I do think, yes, he's going to be a very valuable piece and fun to watch. So that's what I got there.
Love it. And yeah, I've really got nothing more to add on that one. It's been really nice to see Kyle Pitts the last really couple of weeks having some big performances there. And, you know, we always go with tight ends. We know, oh, you got to be patient with them because it takes time. And it's crazy to see the types of games he's had as rookie to go, oh, man, like in the hype of him being like Dynasty tight end number 1, even before he stepped foot on the field. It's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Like I can't think of the last time a tight end has been this good, this early.
Right.
Props to him. He is a man out there.
Yes, indeed he is. Okay, my friend.
My next one. Patriots dominate the Jets again. Some of my takeaways on this one. Let's get some of the bad out of here. No Ramondre Stevenson anywhere, which for people that, you know, there was some hope because especially lately Damian Harris has been a little banged up. And it's like, oh, like, okay, Stevenson's kind of flashed a little bit. Just nope, he healthy scratch. And there's such a bad game for that because Damian Harris had over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. J.J. Taylor comes in and scores a couple of touchdowns. Brandon Bolden in the receiving game, I want to say it was like 7 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. It's like all the running backs, all the rest of the running backs have big games, and poor Ramondre Stevenson, just healthy and active.
Right.
It stinks for him. My other takeaway on this one is Jacoby Myers still.
I know it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
It's crazy, and it's
Brandon
like,
Bolden.
You feel bad. You feel bad for Myers, but if there is a positive takeaway, Myers is clearly the number one receiving option.
Correct.
He still had 7 targets. At some point, the touchdowns are going to be there. I'd rather follow the targets, the target share and everything.
Yeah.
Stick with Jacoby Myers. I know it's super frustrating because he just doesn't score touchdowns, but he is clearly the best receiver there. And my one like team stat on this one is 5 players had between 40 and 80 receiving yards. It's just Mac Jones and the Patriots offense. It was just throw the ball here to Brandon Bolden, throw the ball here to Jacoby Myers. Hey, Jonnu Smith, we got a couple of catches here for 52 yards. Awesome. You have to love it. It's frustrating in fantasy because we would prefer there to be 1 or 2 guys that we know are going to dominate the targets and the yards and everything. But from a real life NFL standpoint, it's kind of cool to be like, oh, like they won by spreading the ball around.
Yeah.
And poor Jets. Oops.
Yeah, man. I was going to say, because this was really, this was a couple of the rookie quarterbacks matching up, in a game. Their teams going against each other because, it's not like the quarterbacks actually play against each other. But, Mac Jones looked good. Over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, played well, even ran for 19 yards. And then the Jets, I mean, it's just I don't know what they're trying to do at running back. Zach Wilson, I mean, you got to feel for him. He gets hurt, can't play the rest. And then backup comes in, Mr. White, and is terrible, I would say. This is just like the leading rusher, 11 attempts, 37 yards. That's it. He was also their leading receiver, Michael Carter was. 8 receptions for 67 yards. Like this guy, Ty Johnson, the next leading 6 for 65. Like this team is just, I don't get it because Gase Scott, I actually thought this Robert Saleh dude seemed like a good dude. Like, you kind of get the vibe off of some guys. Like I love Mike Tomlin. Partly because he cracks me up when he does his press conferences just because of how he talks. It's so like militarist. I can't say that fucking word. Military-like. And then he'll say, this shit, he said, defend every little blade of grass. Like he's so great. He cracks me up. And so I just kind of felt like Saleh kind of gives me that same vibe. And just, man, I mean, they've been bad, but it felt like today was just like obliteration. And poor Jets. But hopefully Zach Wilson's all right. And those two dudes should be going up against each other for quite a few years to come. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to give my last one, and this is the double revenge game between the Lions and the Rams. And for a while there, I was like, of course I'm rooting for the Rams. I kind of like the Rams this year. I like what they're doing. But even so, for a minute there, Detroit was right there. And I was like, oh my God, is Jared Goff going to win this for the Lions in LA? I was there for it if it happened, because that would have been funny as hell to me. But alas, it was not so for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. And oh man, it's Khalif Raymond, the leading receiver. He went over 100 yards. Khalif Raymond, but DeAndre Swift still killing it for you peeps. So keep playing him. He's questionable every goddamn week, but then he goes
not
out.
Questionable in my book.
Nope. All right.
I'm just making sure he's actually playing, and we're fine.
Exactly. And then, the Rams, they were kicking ass. They eventually got it going. Not much in the run game, but Cooper Kupp once again to save the day, 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, Rams are doing Rams things. They are rolling. They're 6-1 now. They had a bye, didn't they? Are they 6-1 or 5-1? 6-1, yeah, they're 6-1.
6-1, yeah.
So yeah, man, I dig what the Rams are doing, but I did find that interesting when it was super close. I was like, that would be absolutely hilarious if the Lions pulled this off. But it didn't happen.
It's coming, Lions fans. That win is coming. I love what Detroit's doing.
They play tough, man. They play tough.
Yeah, and I just love the aggressiveness too. They had the onside kick in the first quarter, and just I know it's like your team hasn't won a game, and it's like, how can you be optimistic? There's so much that goes into this. Like, Detroit is seemingly in like most of these games. It's just a matter of once they figure out how to win, it's going to be fine. They're doing so many good things in Detroit. And you know what? The Dan Campbell coaching hire, initially I was a little skeptical about it, but trust me, there's other teams that hired the
wrong guy. They got the right kneecaps.
Yeah. And and Campbell will get this. He will. Like, you could just tell by the way a team plays, especially a game like this. Like, this was one of the games where the Rams were something like a 16-point favorite, like something just massive. And the vibe I get with Detroit this year is like the vibe I got with Cleveland a few years ago, when Cleveland was always like a double-digit like underdog, and it's like, no, I'm not going to put money on a team to absolutely destroy Cleveland, because Cleveland would just find these ways to like lose games. Right. It's kind of Detroit. Like, they're in it. This was a perfect game. It was a one possession game for the longest time. And, the final score, 28-19, just the game was a lot closer than that. So props to Detroit. That win is coming so soon. I like what Detroit's doing.
For sure. And like I said, they just play tough. And you know what? Around here, we don't like to give coaches too much credit, because so often they do get too much credit. But in this situation, I mean, that whole, we want a culture change, that whole kind of he's really kind of, this doesn't feel like the Detroit team that at least I'm used to seeing, as someone who's watched a lot of NFC North football. Like, this is not the Lions I'm used to seeing. It really does feel like the attitude of this team has changed, and not just with his toughness and his biting the kneecap crazy shit and all that, but like, dude just last week was crying emotional as shit after the game. And it just feels like one of those dudes where, what I kind of expected Robert Saleh to be, I'm kind of seeing in Dan Campbell. He sees like just this leader, like dudes are going to follow, because, and like people like to point out, like, who was I going to bring up? It totally fucking went out of my head. But yeah, I just, Dan Campbell, I'm very impressed, because I heard that kneecap shit and I was like, okay, I'm not sure this dude's going to be a great coach, but he's probably going to make me laugh. But man, this is a completely different Lions team. So it's cool to see. And, DeAndre Swift is a stud. And if they continue to do what they're going to do, could be a fun offense. And DeAndre Swift will continue to kill it. So, yes. Aaron, before we get out of here, did you have any other observations you'd like to bring up, my friend?
I think with all of our observations, we have covered most, if not all, of the Sunday games here.
Yes,
I think we tag team this. We got it. That's all I've got.
Hey, I'm with you. Had a nice, fun-filled discussion. Really took up. It's a decent timed pod, this one. But hey, it's us back together again, which is great. And I say we do real quick before we get out here. We've got the Monday night game. What are we thinking about this? The Saints coming off the bye. The Seahawks, they're coming off the bye, right? Yes. The Saints or the Seahawks. more Geno
Nobody
Smith.
for the Seahawks, but the Saints are coming off a bye.
Right. And the Seahawks, more Geno Smith. Not played too terribly, so let's I know it's Geno Smith, but I'm interested to see how the run game goes because it does look like Alex Collins is going to play. Rashad Penny's coming back. DJ Dallas has done some shit recently, so it could be a very run-heavy game. And, I think it's going to be interesting, this one. So I don't think it's going to be I think our streak of primetime games that are at least interesting, I think it continues.
Yeah, and with this one, too, you have two coaches that have been coaching their teams for a very long time. Sean Payton, of course, with the Saints. Pete Carroll with the Seahawks. It's a game in Seattle. Seattle is a difficult place to play. I'm with you. I think like our primetime games here, like overall this season, we've had a pretty good slate of primetime games. I think that continues with this one. I'm intrigued by it. I know the Saints have been okay. The Seahawks are disappointing 2-4. There is this. I know it seems like I say it every week. This feels like a must-win for both teams. For the Saints, trying to stay somewhat close to the Buccaneers.
Right.
And for the Seahawks, right now they're 2-4. And what is it? The 49ers just fell to 2-4. Seahawks lose. They're at the bottom of this division. That features an undefeated Arizona Cardinals team, along with a 6-1 Rams team. Like, it just feels like, especially if it being a home game for Seattle, such a huge game. So we're going to see. But I will take the Saints. They have the Saints as a 4-point road favorite. I'm actually going to take the Seahawks spread, but I think the Saints are going to end up winning. It's going to be one of those games. It's a 1-point, 2-point game.
The Seahawks defense played a little bit better last week, but when it comes down to it, I was a little worried about this team before Russell Wilson got hurt. So that's all I'm going to say. But I do think tomorrow is going to be a good game. And Seattle has to try and find a way to beat the Saints because next Sunday night, Seattle at Minnesota. And that could be a little rough. So, yeah, Seattle's got to do something or otherwise, what's the point of fucking Russ coming back? Right. So, all right. Well, that's our jagged little quick Monday night preview, and we'll get into reviewing that tomorrow. Hey, we're back. We're back, and we're gonna get back into the normal routine. It's great to have my buddy, my partner back. This is fantastic. So I had a blast today, man. You got any final thoughts for the people before we get out of here?
It's just great to be back in front of a mic. It just feels so right. I'm excited, man. So we're going to carry this momentum straight into tomorrow, then into Thursday. It's going to be good. I love it.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, buddy. All right. Let's get the hell out of here. Once again, thank you, Madcaps, for joining. And we're back on track. And hey, we're not even halfway through the season yet. We still got lots of football to go, my friends. Okay, we'll let you go until tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay mad. From the chatter, the captain, the Wonderland.
Well, mad
That's all for now.
And Dynasty Wonderland.